Good morning. I'm taking my glasses off so that you have to tag yourself here when we get ready to get on. So
It'll prompt me in a minute.
there we go. It's doing its thing.
Hey, there
Cool.
you go. Yes.
Put Tom on the air. Good deal.
Hey.
All right. So this is Eric and Tom
I'll
coming
quit
to
messing
you.
with it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get this down so that because I am not short and I hate looking short in a picture.
Do you remember the Smothers
Doesn't make-
Brothers?
I do remember the Smothers Brothers.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, that's
That's
apparently
what you remind me of.
Okay, yeah.
Which one am I?
I do remember the Smothers. I can't do this. This is going to have to be. I cannot be in the bottom half of the screen. There, that's much better. I feel in tune with myself now.
Vindicated.
Yes. In tune with myself.
Okay.
All right, so let's get started. I think we're getting an audience. I don't know. I don't see anybody yet. I'm hoping that we're live. Make sure that we're live. It might be.
join us.
Make sure I'm not in the wrong group. Am I in the wrong group?
Posted in Work That Matters, Community Impact.
Sounds good to me.
Tag
All
me
right,
in a video.
we're in the right place. Everything's
In the right
happening like
place.
it's supposed to be.
There
There's
we
Jen.
go.
Hey, I want to talk to you in just a little bit, Jen. So you don't have to stick around the live feed,
I'm
but at least you
sitting
need to
right
talk
here.
to me. Not you. I said Jen.
Okay.
Okay. This morning, Tom and I were discussing grandkids as we got ready to go on air, and so we're going to talk about grandkids this morning because I think grandkids are a great topic and they're a great subject. And Tom had his granddaughter come and visit this morning. At least the top half of her head came and visited.
About this much of her was on the video.
And while
Most
she
of
was there, what did she do?
She talked
She talked,
a little bit.
and
She exercised her imagination. I was talking about a bear hiding in the corner, so she named the bear, and kind of went from there.
you know, I love the fact that kids have that kind of an imagination. They'll immediately come up with the name of a bear, or they'll come up with something. I was talking about my grandson when he was here, when he was 3.5.
Yeah.
Taking him up Montesano, we stopped halfway up, and he wants to get out and take a walk because he's looking for Alabama monkeys.
Not a regular monkey.
Not a regular monkey, Alabama monkeys, because
Okay.
he knew he was in Alabama, so they had to be Alabama monkeys.
Well, there you go. Of course.
And we walked and we didn't see any monkeys, and we listened and we didn't hear any monkeys. And he decided that the reason why there weren't any monkeys, this is a fascinating story, is because the lions ate them all.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why we had lions in Alabama was because we don't have any T-Rexes anymore to
They're
eat
all
the
dead.
lions.
They're
And
dead.
so- and all of this just comes out in this walk, and it's like, okay, this is pretty cool. That's what I'm talking about imagination, because imagination is the most important thing that you have.
Well-
It's your greatest problem-solving tool.
And it's something that we give up on.
We actually start giving up on it and stop exercising it by the time we get in middle school.
Yeah.
Because
I was reading this survey a couple of weeks ago. They asked first graders, how many of you can sing? All of them raised their hand.
yeah,
They asked high school seniors, how many of you can sing? One or two of them raised their hand.
right.
Right? So we've kind of taught that out of them.
We have a fill in the blank world.
Oh,
And by
that's
the
good.
time we get to be in middle school, we've learned that the really important thing is what goes in the blank.
Yeah.
It's not what comes out of my mind. It's not my imagination. It's not my creativity. It's not the things that make me who I am. It's what fills in the blank.
That's really profound.
I know. I
You should
come up
write
with,
that down.
I actually have already, but
Oh, okay.
it's okay.
Well, good.
I
Then
have
it's
something profound.
Okay.
okay.
Your granddaughter,
Yes.
you were talking about risk
Yeah.
and you talked about fear yesterday.
Right.
Your granddaughter eliminated her thought of risk by naming that bear something silly,
Yeah.
using her imagination.
And that's a really good point. So, in case you weren't able to hear that, George was pointing out that when Lindley was on the podcast this morning, we were talking about risk and fear and facing the risk, naming it, identifying what the risk factors are, coming up with a mitigation plan. And she, in the example, it was a bear. She named the bear some silly name to make it less imposing, and something that is it's not a big deal. And so often we will let that bear linger in the corner and just say, well, it's there,
It's there.
and
Can't have
not face it down.
Right.
And so then that's when our imagination is working against us, because we're making it something bigger than it really is.
Well, how did we create that situation? We're talking about filling in the blank, and so by the time we get into middle school, we're afraid that we're going to put the wrong thing in the blank, and we start imagining what's going to happen if I fail, and we reinforce that. It gets reinforced because we have these great measurement tools, and which don't do anything. And I talked about this the other day about how we're taught to read.
You're going to get me
We're
started.
taught how many pages we're supposed to read or how many words we read a minute. We start out with how many words can you read a minute, and that's how many pages. And then we advance to chapter books. And none of that does anything for personal enrichment. For the rest of your life, you're going to read for the value and personal benefit, personal enrichment. And yet you're taught how to do exactly the opposite.
Well, right. I mean, you've got a book there that you're working on. The book I'm working on right now is my second or third trip through that book. It's not about speed. It's about, retention, comprehension, being able to recall later on and apply it to the circumstances that present themselves. All those, critical thinking skills that we don't teach when we teach them to fill in the blank. I said, don't get me started.
I think that personally, I don't think I've really read a book until I've read it the fifth time. And then I don't know if I've really read it until I'm still quoting it 10 years later.
Right.
That's when you really see a value to it.
Yeah.
And now I know it's become ingrained into who I am. Somebody asked me the other day as I was stepping out of church, somebody asked me, have you ever read the book Knowing God? And I said, 3 times this year.
Yeah.
And so how long have you had it? And I said, since the day it came out in 1980.
Well, so
I do it all the time.
the Einstein quote here is super applicable. How do you say that, lawyer?
Either way.
Okay.
Both ways are right. It's like that street sign that goes this way.
Yeah.
Whichever way you
One
want to
way.
go.
I saw that yesterday.
I love that sign, by the way.
It's on Green Street.
Yeah.
It's one way. Imagination is way more important than knowledge.
Right.
Because knowledge is limited.
Yep.
And what are we focused on?
We were limited by the size of the blank.
Not even knowledge.
Right.
We're limited. We are focused on rote knowledge
It's
that I
ki-
can regurgitate on demand.
It's kind of like the little girl. I got followed through Ruby Cave by a unicorn, which was an amazing experience. Like I was talking about my kid addiction earlier. So I get followed through the Ruby Cave by a unicorn. And it's this little girl. She's 7. She's wearing big glasses. She's cute as can be, and she's got a unicorn horn on. Because after all, if you're going to go through a cave, you should actually go dressed as a unicorn. What else should you do? And then she said something to me that's kind of reflective of the world that we live in. And she said, excuse me, you do know that the unicorn is the national animal in Scotland. No, I didn't know that. I didn't even know that there were such a thing as a national animal. And then I guess we have an eagle, so maybe there is. It's like I never really thought about what nation had what animal as their national animal,
Let alone a unicorn.
because it didn't really. And she said, and so I had this pondering look on my face, and she looked me right in the eye, and she said, "Sir, Google it, don't noodle it." And I thought I was going to die, because after all, how cool is that? But the problem is that we've learned to look for the answer by Googling it rather than actually taking time to think about it. Noodling, it's really a good thing. Now, I'm not going to be able to come up with the fact that Scotland has a national animal and it's a unicorn just by thinking about it, but there is value in that thinking.
All right, so how do we apply today's lesson?
What are we going to do with this?
Because otherwise, I'm going to get on education.
Yeah, we don't want to do
Get
that.
on education.
What we want to do instead is we want to celebrate imagination today, because it doesn't get celebrated enough. It's just not something that we focus enough attention on. We focus too much attention on filling in the blanks and not enough attention on the imagination that goes behind that. And I've said for a long time, it's what happened to me in school, which was a disaster, was that that when I get asked a simple question like, Farmer Jones has 3 bushel of apples, and then the first thing that I start thinking of is, what did the apples cost him? What was his cost of acquisition? What's his what's his customer acquisition cost? I start
That bushel basket
and we're
costs
talking
something.
about in 4th grade.
Yeah.
Those are the things that go through my head. Well, what's he going to do with the half bushel if he sells
Because
the
you
half
grew up
bushel?
on a farm,
Because I grew up on a farm. Those things made sense to me, and
and they matter.
they really do matter. And then it just, no, that's not what we want. Just put the answer in the blank. And so we end up with,
Okay,
yes,
here's
George.
the answer, but he's going to go broke.
Yeah.
Imagination drives innovation.
It does.
Very good. Imagination
Oh, man.
drives innovation.
There's
That's
another
another topic. So with that, we'll probably sign off because we'll talk for the rest of the day.
You
about
smell that smoke?
I do.
That's
I
the
do.
gears
Yeah.
turning.
Okay. All right. Thank you for joining us today. Look forward to talking to you next week live from Old Town Coffee Shop, which we never sold where we were at. We're in Old Town Coffee Shop, in case you can't tell.
Yeah.
And
And beautiful.
In beautiful
Downtown,
5
5
Points. Correct. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you next week.